Welcome to Llandough Hospital, Nathan.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, it's nice to have you here. Now, I had a blurb through about you, and it said, "Oh, you're going to do things this morning or today with coffee and Marmite."
Yes.
And I asked you if you got your Marmites with you, and you said, "No, I'm doing everything with coffee today."
That's right. Yeah. Basically, because the artwork I do with a lot of foods, they're obviously perishable, so you don't get to keep them. And I believe we want to keep the two portraits I'm making today. One to present to Julian MacDonald himself at the fundraiser on Friday, obviously for the NHS, and then the other one I believe to keep to go on one of the wards for another exhibition. So a portrait of an Iron Bevan with coffee as well. So it should be great.
I have to ask you, where did it all start?
Originally, it did start with a Marmite. It was a newspaper headline about Simon Cowell that I saw in one of the newspapers. It said, "Love him or hate him." And I thought, well, I have to make his portrait with Marmite. Because I was in university, I was kind of getting a little bit bored of using the traditional materials. And I thought there's got to be something else out there to keep me really interested. And it turned out that it ended up being a lot of food products. And then it kind of branched out into other everyday materials as well.
Yeah, because I've read your blurb online and things, and Barack Obama you've even done. What did you do him in?
Yeah, I've done a few of Barack. I did him in pizza. It was a commission for Domino's. When he was here with the NATO as well, BBC Wales got me to recreate the pizza one. I've also done him on a huge pride flag for the bills that he passed whilst he was president for the LGBT community. So quite a few portraits of Barack.
So
Big fan myself.
How long does it take you to do a work of art? Because it's sort of like the Banksy out at night in the middle of the night and writing on a wall, is it? So how long does it take you?
It's usually the initial sketching that takes the longest, making sure I've got the outlines and the details correct. And that's kind of where the traditional side of art comes into it. And then it's almost like throwing food around like I did when I was a child. I was a bit of a fuss eater. And it takes me about 2 or 3 hours-ish per portrait, depending on the size.
And where does all this work take place? Have you got your own studio where you do all this?
I currently have a studio in my spare room at home, but I used to have a big studio. But this year I told myself I'd spend a lot of money into my career and into travelling as well, to get around the world and see some museums and different things and just travel and enjoy myself. But I tend to make work absolutely everywhere. It could be commissions for sort of restaurant openings where I make them live in restaurants. I've exhibited like here now in the hospital, in pubs, in bars, in the street. It could be absolutely anywhere, live on stage. It doesn't bother me at all. I just enjoy making the work. Now,
I've got to get into financial realms, because normally with art, it becomes valuable when you die.
Yes.
So are you looking sort of 200 years from now, there'll be a piece of food that's been lying around that's suddenly going to be bringing in millions?
Yeah, well, you never know. Some of the food, I actually found out with the toast, where you toast the bread, it actually burns off the bacteria that makes it mould, so it just goes rock hard. You can actually keep the toast out, but the Marmite tends to smell a little bit after a while. So there's other implications for it. But things like the coffee, I do a lot of artwork with glitter and makeup and different things, and they keep. So maybe in a few years, or once I've passed away, they'll be worth a bit. But
yeah, well, don't pass away. Don't pass away yet. I mean, there's still the whole avenue of food, I think, to explore. Yeah. You know, I mean, what's the most cumbersome piece of food that you have to work with, would you say?
Oh, it's quite a difficult one, and they all have different sort of ways of reacting to the way I'm making them. Lots of different textures, different styles of using them. So things like ketchup is quite difficult to use, because as soon as you apply it to the canvas, it sort of disperses itself, so you can't really control it very well. The Marmite's quite good because it's thick and sticky.
But the problem with Marmite is it runs, doesn't it?
It's not as bad as some of the other ones you might expect. The worst I found for that, I did a portrait of Jeremy Clarkson using motor oil. And as I applied it to the paper, obviously with the Top Gear connection, as I applied it to the paper, it pooled into a completely different direction. And by the time I finished the portrait, the bits I started with weren't the same. So it's all about the fun, and it's all about experimenting with different materials. So snow was a difficult one. It was melting as I was going along. But like I said, it's all about the videos and the process and having a good time.
So, I mean, do you envisage, have you done any, you mentioned videos and things, have you actually been commissioned on a pop record with anything like that?
Not an actual pop record. There's been a few sort of well-known singers on YouTube. Obviously, everyone's uploading themselves singing these days. I've done a few sort of album covers and things for YouTube singers. Next year, I have a bit of an announcement to make with a worldwide pop star, which I can't say yet. So fingers crossed, that's definitely going to happen.
Can you come back here and tell me all about it when
without
you do?
Without a doubt,
please.
yes.
Well, come back and tell us the worldwide pop star.
Yes, it's very exciting for me. But commissions-wise, this tends to be sort of brands to use their products and different things for sort of restaurant openings or publicity stunts for press and things. So it lends itself to a lot, and videos for YouTube, and it's all about viral videos on social media these days.
Now, I was reading, you went on this morning.
Yes.
And you did something in lipstick, was it, for Holly Willoughby?
That's right, yeah, Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield. I'm actually quite a big fan of the show myself, and when I was thinking of what I could do their portraits in, I was just thinking of sort of admiration, sort of love for them kind of thing, and I thought about kissing and lipstick, so I actually put the lipstick on my own lips, kissed the canvas and made the portrait. So it's not just the unusual materials, it's also unusual ways of making art. I painted famous footballers with my feet, Nelson Mandela using fingerprints, Miley Cyrus using my tongue. So really strange things, but it's all about the fun videos at the end of it.
And you did, I was reading as well, was it the Radisson Blu in Cardiff you did when Cardiff City got promoted to the Premier League?
That's right, yeah.
You did something there as well, didn't you?
That was pizza artwork, yes, using their own ingredients from their restaurant. So it's like I said, it lends itself to a lot of different things.
And did you get any reaction from the club at all, or did they?
Yes, Mark Hudson at the time tweeted me and said he thought it was absolutely great, and a couple of